Good morning. Welcome in to 104.5 The Zone. Hope everybody's off to a great start. We got a jam-packed, loaded show. 615-737-1045. That's how you get in between. But we got guests all over the place. Mike Felder, his first appearance of the year. We're going to get into a bat bleep crazy. I almost said the word, Lucas. Insane. Week 2 in the college football world. We have yet to talk about Alabama losing at home, even though I can't really, well, I can name a handful of times that it's happened in my lifetime, but not quite in a way that felt like that. We haven't talked about Tennessee yet. A win, but struggling against Austin Peay, and we'll spend some time on that a little bit. The Hall of Famer, Kevin Mawae, now the Lipscomb Academy coach, former Jet and Titan, going to join us at 11:45 today, but we have to start with what the hell happened last night. Monday Night Football, the first Monday Night Football game of the year. Truly, not the preseason nonsense, but the pageantry of everything that took place at MetLife Stadium, the build, the hype, the offseason, the acquisition, all of it, culminating in Aaron Rodgers under the lights. An ominous storm that kicked people off the field about an hour and a half before, almost foreshadowing something that was to come. But then it felt like, America, baby. Aaron Rodgers running out the tunnel. The lights are going crazy in MetLife. He's holding the American flag. It's September 11th. We're in New York. It's Monday Night Football. He plants it at midfield, and I said, okay, I'm in.
It was electric.
It's the first time that I've bought in on any of that nonsense. I don't care about Hard Knocks. I don't care about Dalvin Cook. None of it. That was the first moment I said, okay, I'm prepared. I'm ready for what this Jets run is going to be. And 4 plays into their season, it looks like he might have ruptured his Achilles.
No, he did. Adam Schefter, 3 minutes ago, an MRI confirming today that Aaron Rodgers officially tore his Achilles. His season is officially over.
My God.
Think about the range of emotions last night for Jets fans.
The highest of highs, and I'm telling you, depths that a godforsaken franchise has not seen.
But the finish as well.
Oh, my.
To be able to battle back from that, and the punt return for touchdown, it's electric. Everybody's going nuts, but in the back of their minds, they're thinking about Aaron Rodgers while celebrating an electric Week 1 primetime win against a division rival. Can't even imagine that range of emotion from one of the most tortured fan base in the National Football League.
Yes, now.
Not close. It's not close.
He's going to finish his Jets career 0-for-1. He's 40 years old. He's not coming back from an Achilles.
Surely.
I wonder if he's even got the rehab in him. Didn't he say he was 99% retired on McAfee show? Before the whole Jets thing?
Before the darkness retreat.
Before the darkness retreat, and then went into the darkness retreat, had the whole thing with the Jets, got out of Green Bay, and all of a sudden he's looking tan. He's mentoring people. He's feeling fine. He's wearing change from Sauce Gardner. He's on Hard Knocks and all of it. 4 plays.
Nightmare.
0-for-1 as a Jet.
Worst possible fears realized by Jets fans.
You know he got credit for the win?
Rodgers?
Quarterback win. That's his win.
Is it?
Pro Football Reference is going to want to know right off into the sunset.
That's worse. That's insult to injury right there.
I shouldn't laugh. It's awful.
It's awful.
Truly awful. I should not laugh, but my God.
Jim freaking Nance on the F&M Bank chat says Jets fans barely had time to chant Jets, 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 Jets before he went down. They were on the tee.
I thought Fireman Ed was going. I thought Fireman Ed was going to have a heart attack. I thought he was going to go to cardiac arrest as soon as it happened. I legitimately hurt for Aaron Rodgers, for the Jets, even though the Jets organization is poorly run. They felt like they had their moment. They finally figured it out. And then to have it culminate that way, and they won the game. That's the most spectacular part of it is the way that, well, not the most spectacular part of it. The whole scene itself is spectacularly awful, even in a win. We talked about, you said a deflating win yesterday. I found a deflating win for you.
That was me misspeaking, but this is legitimately a deflating win, which stinks because what an electric ending, an undrafted rookie out of oh goodness, I was just looking at, I can't even remember where he played his college football.
It doesn't matter.
Xavier
He was
Gibson.
the Hard Knock star. It was the script. The script was to play. The script was there. except they didn't have Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they said his Achilles exploded off the bone.
Stephen F. Austin, an undrafted rookie out of Stephen F. Austin with that punt return for a touchdown to win.
I saw a tweet last night from it just seemed like a random person that got picked up because the tweet was hilarious. All it said was Tom Brady has the opportunity to do something absolutely hilarious this time. There's too much that I want to laugh at about it. And at the same time, I feel like I'm allowed to have both emotions, that I can feel dreadful for that fan base, for the player, Robert Saleh looked like he might cry. I don't think I've ever seen that man embodies like the kind of grit, tough guy that you associate, the rare, bald, good-looking human being. Not a lot of people can pull off good-looking and bald. Robert Saleh does, and he looked like he might cry.
I'm going to send this to Josh Pate.
What?
What you just said?
It is hard to pull off bald.
The 1,000-yard stare from Saleh.
No. I don't want to laugh, but I can't help it because all I kept hearing in the background, I think it was Dan Katz, Big Cat from Barstool, tweeted just somebody put the Curb Your Enthusiasm music behind him. It's insane.
Should we put it to a poll? Who finishes the season as the Jets starting quarterback, Zach Wilson or free agent TBD?
Were you surprised that he came out as definitively as he did last night, Saleh, saying that Zach Wilson would be their starting quarterback for the rest of the season?
Not really.
You weren't surprised by that? To pin yourself into that corner? They just tried to get out from under this dude.
That doesn't mean that they can't adjust and that if things go poorly, they can't find another option.
No, I know.
Doesn't mean that. That doesn't restrict them from doing anything. Like, that's just them putting belief in their starting quarterback in the meantime. I have no issue with that whatsoever.
I don't have an issue with it necessarily. I didn't find it necessary. I just felt like it kind of backed them into a corner that they're going to have to dig themselves out of later when they inevitably bench Zach Wilson for who? Joe Flacco?
So what? Joe Flacco.
I mean, it's a Jet legend.
What would you have preferred from Robert Saleh? Yeah, we'll see. We'll evaluate.
Zach did what he could coming in. We'll evaluate the quarterback position moving forward. We're all just trying to process everything that happened right now. Like that, I mean, just that simple.
Okay. I mean,
just that simple.
That would have been fine. But I also have no issue saying we believe in Zach. He's our guy. And then if things don't go well, you have every prerogative to explore every option.
But you don't believe in Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson doesn't believe that you believe in Zach Wilson. You just tried to replace Zach Wilson with the 40-year-old quarterback whose Achilles ruptured on your brand new turf field. That's the thing. They just replaced that field because MetLife has been the subject of a lot of different conversations. And this is something that, we're about to find out, right? Titans play their first home game on this microfilament. Now, this is different than what it is that New York has. The organic material, it's coconut-based, that Tennessee has installed at Nissan Stadium. Of course, remember, not playing on grass for the first time in Nissan Stadium, LP Field, Adelphia Coliseum's history. It is a different kind of substance, though, that is supposedly better equipped to simulate grass. But I don't know how, if you're an NFL player who is already anti-turf, looking around and saying, look, see what happened on the fourth play. A team had their season ended, essentially, because the Jets' defense was awesome. Josh Allen was dreadful. Dreadful. You want to talk about terrible week one quarterback performances? And week one was nightmarish for quarterbacks on the whole. As we just spent 3 hours talking about Ryan Tannehill yesterday, I thought that the bigger story there, beyond, or I guess the second biggest story there after Aaron Rodgers and the Achilles now confirmed, is what we're going to talk about coming up next. 615-737-1045 is the number. The quarterbacks in week one and Josh Allen's part to play in it. That is going to be a fascinating discussion that I'm looking forward to having this morning.
Can you tell me how many more primetime games the New York Jets have this season?
Sure can. 5.
It's a lot.
Blech. Oh, if not for Garrett Wilson. That game, Zach Wilson, it's an unenviable position that he's in, okay? I am sympathetic to what is going on with Zach Wilson's experience. That doesn't mean that I enjoy watching him play football. Get him off of my screen. He looked, you want to talk about timid and scared? Ooh, And lack of awareness when he's trying to run for the end zone and the running back is trailing behind him with a clear and obvious path to the end zone. When he's trying to, I don't necessarily know. If he'd have seen the running back, I'm sure that's the play that he would have made. And I think Troy Aikman made that point on the broadcast. Aikman was saying if he felt the running back there at all, no way he would have taken the ball and gone for it the way that he did.
Breece Hall, though, awesome.
Yes.
Awesome game.
Yes.
It's going to be the same Jets as 2022, largely, right? Down 13-6, and did it not feel, to their credit, they scored on an incredible acrobatic catch by Garrett Wilson, and they sent it to overtime and win on a crazy special teams walk-off fashion, but did it not feel like 13-6 felt insurmountable?
Oh, the entire time.
They're down 7. It feels like they're down 20. And to their credit, they came back, but I feel like that's going to be the story all year. An elite defense with an offense that can hardly put up 2 to 3 touchdowns.
The 2022 Jets.
Yeah, exactly.
They are the 2022 Jets.
Yeah.
Again.
I just said that, yeah.
3 interceptions for a dude who didn't have 3 in his career. Whitehead didn't have 3 in his career. He had 3 last night off Allen. And then, a lot of people are going to start to now think, at least in this market. Did you get any of these last night? Trade Tannehill, Buck. Trade him. Trade him now. Trade him to the Jets. Trade Malik. Trade any of them. Trade them all. Oh, my God. It's week 1. How quickly? You remember what you said to me yesterday when the show started? Everybody's pissed. How different was that on Friday when everybody but the Chiefs undefeated? Vibes are high. Morale is great. And now, just half the league stewing in it.
Yeah, how many meltdowns across the country on sports radio were there yesterday?
Oh, my God, New York. I do not often seek out sports talk radio from other markets, but I want to turn on New York sports talk radio today. I can't imagine.
Ooh, that's a good poll question. Well, I guess the answer is New York, but what I guess it would have been a better poll for yesterday, the most entertaining sports talk after week 1. What market? Like Cincinnati, I think, would have a say.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh,
New York, but then now they have the Jets and the Giants. They have disaster on both ends. One team won, one team lost, but the rare deflating win, as we talked about. Coming up next, we'll talk about the nightmarish quarterbacks the nightmarish experience that quarterbacks had in week 1. We'll get to your phone calls. I'm sure there are several. 615-737-1045 is the number. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. Week 1 nightmarish for quarterbacks all over the place. Tennessee, both New York teams. I'm sure the discussion in Pittsburgh today, or at least on Monday morning, was what the hell just happened. Quarterbacks and, including last night, Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen, more turnovers than any quarterback in week 1. Josh Allen with 4. The real reason that the Jets won that game, the walk-off in overtime is great, and the story is awesome, and the post-game interview with Lisa Salters, where it was, you could tell that it was, of course, I'm forgetting Gibson's first name, the returner that had the score, the punt return score to win the game for the Jets in overtime. Xavier Gibson. When else is Xavier Gibson going to be interviewed on Monday Night Football by Lisa Salters? It was a funny, because he was very transparent, right? He's an undrafted rookie. So he hadn't been sanitized yet by the NFL. He's not like a high-profile player, so he's probably not been approached by a lot of media. And it was one of the most fun Monday Night Football post-game interviews that we've had just because, my God, the emotions of that from start to finish. But for the quarterbacks everywhere, man, disaster. Like, who was the best performance of any of them in week 1? It's probably Tua.
Yeah. Tua was unbelievable.
Mike McDaniel was unbelievable. They're both together, that offense. Teams make adjustments. The Dolphins were adjusted too halfway through the season, and the explosive start, the quarterback also got his brain scrambled. That matters too.
Tua, 28 of 45, 466 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Yeah. So I would say that Tua is probably the best performance by a quarterback in week 1. And, Herbert, they didn't get it done in the passing game down the stretch in that game. Went back and watched a little bit of that last night, at least the fourth quarter, to see how it finished. But for the most part, a lot of quarterbacks, guys who played in the preseason, guys who didn't play in the preseason, really, really struggled out there.
You know who looked sharp in the first half? Brock Purdy was accurate, was efficient, and was throwing dimes to Brandon Ayuk in the first half of that rout against the Steelers. Purdy didn't have to do much in the second half of that game.
Sure.
Finished 19 to 29, 220 yards, 2 scores, both to Ayuk. But that guy's timeline since getting hurt in the NFC Championship has been incredible.
It's wild. A lot of times people will do the Tom Brady comparison with guys who go in the 6th round or guys who go later round in the quarterback. This is actually the one. He hasn't won anything yet, so let's not keep our powder dry. But if you're looking for a parallel anywhere, this is the only one that's ever actually been applicable. 615-737-1045 is how you join the discussion. We'll get into which quarterback felt like they had the worst week 1 here in just a second. Start with Tony in Hendersonville.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Just wanted to draw some attention. I know a lot of people are talking about automatically week 1 with that trade on Tannehill. My question to you, Buck, would be, in your professional opinion, what would the trade value for Ryan Tannehill be? Because I know you're not about the hypotheticals. So what is his actual trade value? And even if he had good trade value, could the Jets afford something like that in the position that they're in with just getting Rodgers? And I'll listen to you. Thanks.
Thanks for the call, Tony. So Rodgers, if you'll remember, did New York a massive favor in the restructuring of his contract so that they could continue to have cap flexibility. Now, how realistic a Tannehill trade is, I don't think the Titans would do it unless truly they were 1-5 or something like that ahead of the deadline. I really don't think they'd move Tannehill. Realistically, if you're asking for my professional opinion, what would his value be? Let me look at New York's draft capital really quick, because I know now the first-round pick that they gave up for Aaron Rodgers is no longer a first-round pick. It's a second. So the Jets' draft capital situation.
Oh, because of the playing time.
Correct. So now that's a different discussion. So let me. It
was 70% of snaps. Was that the
I don't remember the exact
threshold?
Number. We know that 0 for 1 in 4 snaps is not going to.
Yeah, either way.
Not going to satisfy the requirement. This is their 2023 draft class. Let me find their 2024 draft capital. gut feeling, like, I don't think, Trey Lance just went for a fourth. I was surprised Trey Lance went for a fourth. In season, maybe you could make the argument for a third-round pick. It would depend where that third-round pick is. And I think you would also have to, like, for the amount of contract, they've paid now a portion of his contract, the Titans have, and, that will continue the more weeks that as long as he remains on the roster. But I would think that anything beyond a third, and even a third, feels like it might be a bit of a stretch. It just depends on how desperate the Jets are. I just don't think the Titans would do it for the same reason that he's still here, because they want to be a competitive football team until they're not. And if he's on the roster, Mike Vrabel's not going to be like, all right, to hell with it. I just don't think Mike would ever do that. Even as, for a lot of you, it might make a lot more sense to have that fourth-round pick. Let's just say a fourth, to be generous, because that's what Trey Lance just went for. I know he's younger. I know he's cheaper. I know there's a lot of different things that factor into this particular equation.
The season would have to be lost, right?
And even then, I don't, because there was plenty of moments where, like, okay, season's over before the season was over.
Season?
Even if it wasn't actually over.
No, I completely disagree. The season was not over until it was over.
I know.
They were in control until they weren't, but the season was not over until the final snap of the Jags game.
No, you are correct. From our vantage point, though, you could understand how the general feeling was, my God, they seem incapable of breaking through no matter what it is they do. Like, you almost felt pity for them.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to figure these things out, and they just couldn't. They kept losing in all manner of different ways.
5 losses in a row, 6 losses in a row. It felt like it was over, but it wasn't. It was all right there to play for, a home playoff game to play for, in their control.
Which is why, even if it's over, like, even if you have the feeling that it is over, I don't think that they would do that. And they would cite to you last year as evidence. We were a bad call away from the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, the Jag season seemed over last season.
2-6.
Midway through.
2-6. Gil is in California up next.
Hey, Buck, how's it going?
Great.
Yeah, I was in New Orleans for the game, flew out from California. We was out there kind of deep, but what I want to say is that I'm going to put 60 on Vrabel and 40% on Tannehill, because I just felt that even though a lot of other quarterbacks been playing the preseason, I think this was the year to put Tannehill in the preseason, considering that our season openers have always been bummers, and that new offensive line, new receivers, new offensive coordinator, and for him to throw 3 picks, which I've seen almost 5 because I was at the game that he could have thrown, missing wide open players, and for him to come out with the worst game of his career as far as what I've seen with Tannehill, I just felt the timing was off. He wasn't ready. And I just think maybe a little bit of the preseason would have helped him out. And on top of that, it's like Tannehill wasn't talked about the whole season. Everybody talked about the other quarterbacks. And it's like, to me, he just checked out. I don't know if he feels like Tennessee wants him or whatever with drafting 2 quarterbacks in a row. But I just think that he can recover. But I just think he needed time to figure out and get the chemistry down.
Thanks for the call. 60 seconds on the clock. We appreciate it. Blaine and I were talking about this yesterday, because Blaine and I have gone back and forth on this a couple of times. And as I said yesterday, and I'll repeat it again, I defer to Blaine Bishop on all things football correctly. But I still do struggle with overwhelmingly inherent advantages of the preseason. Like, I don't think it's a blanket statement for every team. But talking to Blaine while we were having our shift change yesterday between shows, and he's explaining to me, the reason why I keep coming back to it is speed of the game. And I'm sure he said something to that effect on Blaine and Mickey yesterday, Lucas.
Yes, that it just can't be replicated in practice. It just can't.
Right. And for the same reason that the reps are critical for Levis and Willis. Now, here again is the main issue, right? Levis and Willis, it is the only opportunities that they have to get those reps. So while I completely understand, with the result of New Orleans in hand, the operational issues that they had on top of the issues that he himself brought to the equation, you do also have a scenario where this is the only time that Levis and Willis are going to get that other than being in a real live NFL game.
And Levis didn't even really get that.
Right. Now, you could then say, okay, well, that's fine. Levis couldn't play. Levis couldn't play for 2 out of the 3. So why not divvy it up a little bit between Malik and Tannehill? Well, again, the argument becomes Malik specifically needs those more than any of the 3 of them. Now, I can't sit here and tell you that Malik Willis and Will Levis don't matter really in 2023 until such time as an injury or some other situation finds them in the lineup, right? Because I'm no longer going to dismiss the people outright who are calling for Ryan Tannehill's job. I don't think it's time. I don't think they'll do it. I still think he's the best quarterback option on the roster right now. We'll see what it looks like against the Chargers, but it now becomes a more meaningful storyline. Nobody was doubting that this was Ryan Tannehill's job prior to week 1. Now there's going to be a lot of second guessing, and I'm not here to shout you down anymore. But I think that with their specific situation, when you do the cost-benefit analysis, is there not a greater benefit to finding out in the preseason more, or as much as humanly possible, about Malik Willis or potentially about Will Levis than there is for trotting Tannehill out there? You might argue the opposite, but the way that I'm looking at it and the way that the coaching staff approached it is that these 2 players, the best that they're going to get in season is scout team. So let's bleep around and find out.
Yeah, but that wasn't the circumstances, right? The circumstances ended up being that only one of those had the opportunity to get those reps.
Sure. So you're disagreeing that Malik should have played the whole time in both of those games?
I'm saying that there is some value. There is value to playing your starters in the preseason.
Yeah, I have been willing to move off that position.
To dismiss that value, I think, has been proven at this point. Like, coaches around the league see the value. That means that there's value. Yep. If you're going to defer to those people for football things, then that means that there's value. It's just risk-reward. Mm-hmm. So I think there would have been some value in playing Tannehill a couple extra series.
Yeah, you don't have to go to extremes on it.
Yeah. There was rust. Vrabel said as much yesterday. He said, there was some rust.
And that's the first time that he's mentioned anything of the sort.
Yeah, and we'll see in week 2 if it was just that, if it was rust.
What do you think the reaction to him is on Sunday at home? Tannehill.
Oh, when he comes out? Mixed?
They don't announce the offense. They announce the defense.
What do you mean they don't announce the offense?
I'm saying, like, if I'm a Titans, game day production person, I'm saying, no, don't announce the starting offense coming out of the tunnel. Do the defense. The defense, they can't boo Jeff.
Just ignore the starting offense?
They just say, and here comes the Titans starting offense.
They're going to announce the starting offense.
They can announce them without doing the whole tunnle thing. Like, they can run the defense out there first and be like, here's the offense too, and head coach Mike Vrabel.
It'll be interesting. It would be, I think, a mixed response.
But do you think there would be boos? Do you think people would boo him?
There would be some boos, yeah. But I don't think this is a vitriolic enough fan base like it would be in New York for the boos to rain down like crazy. No, I think there'd be enough people cheering in the home opener with Tannehill needing a good performance out of him in week 2. This isn't New York, man. This isn't the New York market.
No. I'm not saying that, but that there is a shift, Lucas. Like, there is a shift in the way that this is being talked about now. Like, the Bengals game was one thing, and there was a contingent that wanted him run out of town, and that was nonsense then, and it's nonsense now. It was a choke job. It was a terrible game. He underperformed, and that was that. But there was not this. Now there are grounds for this discussion. And I know it's week 1, and I know keep your powder dry and all that stuff, but now there are legitimate grounds. So, you may I don't dispute that New York sports fans are typically angrier than Tennessee sport fans, but I've seen plenty of passionate Tennessee sports fans, particularly when it comes to hate. Hate's the one thing that it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. Hate in sports, that transcends market size. And if you hate something enough, you're inclined to let people know.
I think it'll be mixed.
I agree. Jordan is in Nashville up next. Hey, Jordan.
Hey, remember when Zach Wilson said, I'm going to make that dude's life hell if Jets signed a veteran quarterback? Well, look what happened. And then also the atmosphere. At
Wait.
Nissan
What do you mean, look what happens? Slow down. One at a time. What do you mean, look what happens?
Well, Aaron Rodgers, the veteran quarterback, got injured on the fourth play. So
Because Zach Wilson said that he was going to make his life hell?
yeah, just make bad joke.
Okay.
Oh, damn, Jordan. now,
Did you fade him down because you felt bad?
Jordan. I feel bad for Jordan.
Why? No.
But he was done. I mean, that was his.
He had another point, and you faded him down.
Jordan, did you have something else?
And we're going to be Ryan Tannehill.
Okay.
So no, he didn't have another point.
See what you did?
Thanks for the call, Jordan.
Dude, normally you get on me about, setting people up for failure. You did Jordan wrong there. You faded him out. You made it sound like he was sinking into the sea in his shame. And he probably should have.
I think he was he not?
Yeah.
He kind of retreated. All right, bad joke.
Do you think I was too hard on him?
Try again next time.
Do you think that was too extreme? Come on. What are we doing here? Look what happens.
Jaron on
His
the FNN
Achilles
chat.
came flying off the bone because Zach Wilson said he's going to make his life hell.
Jaron says Buck ruined this man's day.
No, Lucas did that. Don't put that on me. No.
You're the one that cut him down.
Well, it was dumb. I'm sorry. 615-737-1045. We'll see if Kevin has anything better. Hey, Kevin.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Apparently, if the statistics I read are accurate, the Titans used Derrick Henry very few plays in the second half. Now, with the game that close, what the hell? And I listened to Vrabel's comments after the game on the radio this morning. It's like, what the hell? I mean, come on. The biggest battering ram, and you're going to keep him on the bench when all you need to do is move the ball?
Well, let's talk about Derrick's usage in the noon hour when Cory Curtis is in here, because that was something that was, a lot of people reacted to out of, thank you for the call, Kevin, that a lot of people reacted to out of Vrabel's press conference. And yes, we did talk about that yesterday, where Tajay Spears he didn't have more carries than Derrick Henry, but he had a higher percentage of their offensive plays than did Derrick Henry without having the carries. And you are correct. He finished with 15 carries. 10 of those came in the first half. So it is something. And listen, I largely agree with you that an underutilization of Derrick Henry is almost never a talking point. And when it happens and they lose, that's going to be the first thing that people go to other than Tannehill, because, of course, the 3 interceptions are going to be what you jump on.
5 carries in the second half.
It's bad. It's bad. But I do think that you can't also call for change on offense, have the offensive coordinator dial up the plays that are there to hit the touchdowns, have the quarterback miss on those plays, get plays that where the Saints were also struggling in the red zone could have been the difference between a win and a loss in what ended up being a 1-point game, and things like the 4th and 6 decision that Vrabel's getting dragged across NFL media for that kind of conservatism. It's a playing both sides argument, because you asked for change from your offense. They gave it to you, and they weren't able to execute. And the result is Derrick Henry 5 carries in the second half, and you looking around like, what the hell? But I understand your point.
Real quick, who had the worst quarterback performance of week 1?
Yeah, we should have talked about that. I still think it's Daniel Jones. I mean, Josh Allen, the stuff of nightmares.
It's Jones, Allen, Tannehill, or Burrow, right? Or Pickett.
Burrow had 90 yards.
Yeah, 82 yards.
I still think it's Daniel Jones. You just got the contract. They just told you how much more valuable you are than Saquon Barkley, who really is the most important part of that offense. And you just caved. I mean, no, the Cowboys caved you.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's Allen, because everything went wrong for the Giants. Everything. Defense, special teams, offensive, everything. Yeah. Jones was just a part of that. Allen put the ball in harm's way, put himself in harm's way over and over last night.
4 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and a fumble. I mean, I know a lot of you don't like the Tannehill situation, but there's a lot of Tannehill storyline parallels, not just regular season, but postseason as well, the Buffalo Bills fans have now with Josh Allen. And it can't be this in year 6, where he's still doing things like he's at Wyoming. And, the league is caught up, even if he's bigger and badder. Anyway, 615-737-1045. It's a good week. Week 1 is always a good week to start with our favorite segment. Oh, no. That's next. Well, this is very, very relaxing music coming back into one of the most chaotic and hectic segments of the week, but that's fine. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in because it's time to tell us what in sports made you say, oh no.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Oh, no.
Oh yeah!
All right, let's do it. Lucas apparently has two because one was too good to pass up on. I'm going to go with DraftKings Sportsbook. Now, full disclosure, I have done endorsements for DraftKings Sportsbook before, but this is an oh no level infraction that is worth discussing. Yesterday was, of course, 9/11. We did not talk about it specifically on the show, but, you know, the significance culturally, societally, we all acknowledge anytime that date comes to pass. Now, there are better ways to acknowledge it, however, than setting up 9/11 themed betting parlays, okay? It's called the Never Forget Parlay Promotion on DraftKings Sportsbook. Bet these New York teams to win tonight on 9/11. New York Jets to win versus Arizona. New York Mets to win versus Arizona. Yankees to win against the Red Sox, and the Jets to win last night. The Never Forget Parlay on DraftKings Sportsbook. They said, you know, they got some pushback. Obviously, they promptly took it down. To their credit, a representative from DraftKings would not respond to attempts for comment made by the Action Network specifically, but the sportsbook plans to release a statement on Monday. I had not seen that statement as of yet, but DraftKings Sportsbook, that was a really, really tough look.
A tough look indeed. One of those things that you wonder, how does that get presented in front of a room of people and not one saying, guys, I don't know about this one?
Somebody probably got fired for that. And I bet you $20 it wasn't the suits that approved it. The boardroom full of people or the, conference room full of people that probably said, yeah, you know what, go ahead and throw that up on the app.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yesterday, it's rare that we get one that makes me audibly say, oh no, or textually say, oh no. But in our Twitter group, producer Jackson Williams sends in an On3 Sports article that blue chip athlete recruit Boo Carter out of East Tennessee, Bradley Central High School in Cleveland, Tennessee, currently a Tennessee commit, is taking an official visit to Colorado. I said, oh no. Because
Indeed.
get ready, college football fans. This is only going to spread. The Colorado hype is going to be fun if you're a college football fan until they start taking your recruits. Ask Florida State. Deion didn't even have to be at a Power 5 program to nab away the number one overall recruit in the country in Travis Hunter. People marvel at what Travis Hunter is doing right now, and absolutely for good reason. But we also have to remember he was the number one player in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Go look at a list of number one overall recruits over the last 10 years. Myles Garrett, right? The likes of Myles Garrett that are currently playing at the highest level in the NFL, they don't all pan out. Rashawn Gary, right? But they are playing in the National Football League. Typically, these recruiting composites get these right. So Travis Hunter is an elite talent. He's nabbed away from FSU to go to Jackson State. And when I see that a Tennessee commit is taking an official visit to Colorado, I think all Tennessee fans should see that and think,
I'm in danger.
Did you see they're calling Colorado UCLA?
huh?
University of Colorado of Los Angeles, because of how many California recruits are now going to Colorado that had no business going to Colorado before, because they are scavenging, not even scavenging. They're taking the best of the best.
There's a new recruiting powerhouse on the block, and it lays in the mountains.
We'll talk about Deion Sanders. We haven't gotten to that yet, but Mike Felder will be here at 11:20.
This is the one that I felt we simply had to have a joint oh no for. Because a Wisconsin bar, apparently, according to a local CBS News story, offers free drinks if the Jets lose. Fills out with Packer fans.
Oh, no.
They watch Jets games, and their tabs are free in the event of a Jets loss. So, after Aaron Rodgers went down, they started running up some tabs. Here's an excerpt from the news story.
We're just going to keep going.
Another condition is Aaron Rodgers must start the game, but the rules say nothing about him having to finish it. So, there's a loud roar when Rodgers leaves the game hurt in the first quarter. The fans say it's nothing personal.
I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to Rodgers, but tonight I'm thinking with my wallet instead.
Still, some say they'll be flying high regardless of the outcome because after Sunday's game, they're in love.
I think we can work around that, especially after Jordan Love's performance yesterday. I'm not too down in the dumps after that, so.
Enjoy.
And the mood has changed considerably. That is because the Jets just won the game on a long touchdown in overtime. You could take a look. This is the reaction from a bar where people are realizing the bar tabs they've been racking up all night, thinking, certainly with Rodgers hurt, the bar was going to be paying that tab. It is setting in. They are going to have to go to the bar and pay that tab.
So that's a little less than half of the whole news story. I retweeted it at Lucas Panzica on Twitter.
My God.
Or on X, whatever you want to call it, at Lucas Panzica.
Whatever
I retweeted the story. Go watch it. The faces behind this reporter that are solemnly staring at the TV screens as they watch the Jets walk it off. There's a singular Jets fan in a Sauce Gardner jersey with his arms just fists pumping in the air in the background, just amongst all the Packard jerseys in this Wisconsin bar. Truly incredible. Truly something that makes you say,
Oh, no.
It's perfect. It's why we do this segment. Truly it is. That is catastrophe. How many cards over under do you think bounce? Because people are just like, there's no chance.
No
There's
chance.
Some dude being like, this is my one night to get absolutely blitzed.
Or the uptick, because there were the ones that were a little more conservative about it. That, okay, he might come back, but the second he's ruled out,
pounding shots.
Shots are flying off
Top
the bar.
shelf stuff.
1,000%.
Oh.
You're talking $300, $400, $500 bar tabs at the least. And then,
it's hard to get a $300 bar tab, one would imagine, at a Green Bay, Wisconsin bar.
Yeah.
But I bet some people found a way to win.
And then Xavier Gibson happened.
Never count him out. 615-737-1045. You guys have phone calls on the Titans. Ryan Tannehill and Tim Kelly. We'll get to those here in just a second. We'll also talk about the Vols and their struggles in a win against Austin Peay. Stick around. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 11:01. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. 4 plays into his New York Jets debut, Aaron Rodgers went down on Monday night and did not return. Adam Schefter reporting this morning that it is a torn Achilles as feared, and Rodgers' season is officially over. The game continued on as Zach Wilson came in at quarterback, and the New York Jets won in overtime over the Buffalo Bills, 22-16 on a walk-off 65-yard punt return for a touchdown by undrafted rookie Xavier Gipson. Bills quarterback Josh Allen struggled on the night, throwing 3 interceptions and fumbling once. As week 1 wrapped up in the NFL, the Titans turned their attention to the home opener against the Chargers in week 2. Running back Derrick Henry received only 5 second-half carries Sunday in the loss to the Saints. Mike Vrabel met with the media on Monday and was asked if that will be an outlier down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that, those are something like we're going to need a Derrick, and we're going to need everybody and making sure that we get into a rhythm and that we figure out things that we can do consistently. And Derrick will be a huge part of that, I can assure you.
For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour on this Tuesday. Welcome in, welcome back. We're happy to have you either way, wherever you're listening on this fall feeling Tuesday morning. Did you get the fall vibes when you walked outside today?
I got the first hint of fall vibes a couple of weeks ago when Will and I were broadcasting Centennial versus Independence the other Friday night, and I felt a little nip in the air.
A little nip. You love to see it. Now, I am hoping, I haven't looked at the forecast yet. I'm sure Davis Nolan at WKRN will tag us all in a tweet at some point. But I would hope that this would hold throughout the course of the week before the home opener at Nissan Stadium. That would be ideal. We have some time to talk Titans throughout the course of the week. Of course, we can take your phone calls on Tennessee, 615-737-1045. And speaking of Tennessee, we have not addressed what happened with the University of Tennessee. We will do so here in just a second. But several of you have been asking about the quarterback situation, of course, extending our discussion from yesterday. Week 1, a disaster for quarterbacks around the league, and certainly Ryan Tannehill, no exception. Ryan Tannehill not with the worst performance. Hell, he might not even be the second worst performance by a quarterback this weekend, even as it felt as bad as it ever has. So we'll get to your phone calls on that, of course. The biggest news of the day, Aaron Rodgers now confirmed an Achilles that is torn. He is done for the season. 4 snaps into his Jets career. I imagine that would have a significant impact on how people might feel about the AFC as we continue into the regular season. Let's start with Jim in Nashville. Hey, Jim, what's happening?
Hey, guys. Before I give you my oh no, I just wanted to say who is the most reliable player on the Titans? Day in, day out, he's going to produce numbers. Who's that guy?
Well, on Sunday was Nick Folk.
No, I'm talking about Derrick Henry.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I understand that, Tannehill missed those them huge passes, but I have to say my oh no for the week is Tim Kelly, man. He didn't put all the stops out and put up another different plays. He didn't put Derrick Henry and Spears on a play together. Like, he had to mix it up, man. You got to put all the stops and win the game. So my oh no for the week is Tim Kelly. Don't end up like Todd Downey, man.
Thanks for the call. Well, he actually did use Tajay Spears and Derrick Henry on what we call a pony package. But he also did it with Julius Chestnut and Tajay Spears, which was something that had us all scratching our heads.
But that was very anti-Todd Downing, the way he called that game.
Yeah, no, there was creativity in the play design. There were opportunities on the field. The quarterback missed the opportunities. Again, if they win the game, are there people complaining about Derrick Henry's usage? Probably. But if they win the game and they execute an efficient offense, I understand it's going to be tough the idea of the Titans weaning themselves off a Derrick Henry sole dependency is going to be tough for a lot of people. I get that. And I'm not saying that they couldn't have used Derrick Henry more, certainly in the second half of that game. But you saw what they were trying to accomplish. You saw the plays were there to be made. Quarterback didn't get it done. They tried to lean more on the quarterback. This is an offensive system that is predicated more on the quarterback being the primary source of offense than is the running back, as are most NFL offenses. And, while it's not as point and shoot as the last system has been for Ryan Tannehill, you can't, Tim Kelly was fine. Honestly, fine. I can nitpick the Derrick Henry stuff. I will nitpick the Derrick Henry stuff. We'll do so at noon, and I understand why Jim just did. I'm not saying that Jim's wrong.
He put them in position to win the game.
He put them in position to win the game. It's a 1-point loss. It's not Tim Kelly's decision not to go for it on 4th and 6, which would have increased their win percentage chance substantially. That's a Mike Vrabel decision. Like I said, Derrick Henry needs more carries in the second half of that football game. But that is not, Tim Kelly is not the issue coming out of week 1 in New Orleans. So we'll return to the Titans specifically a little later. And if you guys have oh-nos, you can call us with that. Mike Felder will be here to break down a crazy week 2 in college football and get us ready for Tennessee and Florida coming up this weekend here in just about 15 minutes. But the Vols struggled mightily against Austin Peay. Now, I will admit to you that I saw only highlights, and there were precious few highlights to be seen in that win over Austin Peay, the Vols home opener. Joe Milton again struggled. The receivers again struggled. Drops. A storyline for 2 weeks are not the kind of thing that you need to see when you already kind of have a degree of hesitancy. Hesitancy is a fair word for people to describe about Joe Milton, right? Just kind of hesitant about truly, and for good reason, about trusting Joe Milton to operate this system effectively. There is plenty of reason to be hesitant.
Hesitant that he can replicate what happened last season with Hooker. Yes.
I am more than hesitant that he can replicate that. But yes, I think hesitant is as diplomatic as I can put it. So with that being said, a lot of Vols fans going through it. And I saw the reaction. I was out in New Orleans during the day, and I came back in time to watch Texas, Alabama, which of course we'll talk about with Felder. But watching the Vols offense on DVR this morning, I just can't help but keep coming back to Joe as the biggest reason why I think the clunkiness is going to exist. You were favored by damn near 50 points and should have been against Austin Peay. Now, I know that to let a team like Austin Peay score at all is probably a loss in your eyes. To have 13 points put up by an Austin Peay team against a defense that is bigger, faster, stronger. You saw it against Virginia. So why would that not hold true against Austin Peay? But, Joe is going to be the thing. He is their ceiling, and I think their ceiling is significantly lower with him operating as the quarterback. I saw a conversation, or we didn't really get to it. Caleb Williams' dad talking about him not going in the first round, and I don't put too much stock into things like Bleacher Report lists. Right, here's 5 players who stand to benefit if Caleb Williams doesn't go in the first, doesn't declare for the draft, and goes back to USC, and Milton was one of them in the list. I just kept coming back to the idea of, listen, Joe Milton, he's got a lot of things that wow you, and he's got a lot of deficiencies. The biggest thing that I can say about Joe Milton in this game, again, is I feel Joe Milton to be a finished product. I think I've seen as good as Joe Milton is going to get, and I think that Joe Milton has some things that he can bring to the table, certainly, and I think that Joe Milton has plenty of limitations. But as a 6-year college quarterback, I largely feel that he's a finished product, and the missed opportunities are just something that you're going to have to eat. I don't think it's enough to bench him. He still gives you a better chance than Nico. He's seen more things. He's run the system for longer. He's physically bigger, faster, stronger to be able to sustain the rigors of an SEC season, give Nico some time to develop the strength and conditioning necessary to last. But, I just think I just think it's something you're going to have to live with. And while that was a very unpleasant experience for a lot of you on Saturday afternoon, I think that's just kind of what I expect to be par for the course.
The thing that's going to be the strength for this team, it appears, on offense is going to be the run game.
Mm-hmm.
Run game looks as good as it has in the Heupel era here in year 3. That stable of Jalen Wright, Jabari Small, Dylan Sampson are all going to contribute in different ways this year. Wright appears to be the best of that group. He got 118 yards out of just 13 carries against an Austin Peay FCS front, obviously, but was just as impressive against a stout Virginia front. And the run game is the thing that is needed to set up this offense for success. It's going to be interesting because there's going to still be fireworks with Joe.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's going to uncork some 80-yard deep balls that's going to bring everybody in the stadium to their feet. And he's going to have some performances like he did against Clemson. But like we've talked about, Vols punted 7 times against Clemson. That stuff just gets masked by the big plays. So, yeah, I think I'm with you that we're not going to see Milton at any point really be as rhythmic as Hooker ever was with this offense. And it's going to be really frustrating at times for Tennessee. They're going to need to be able to win up front in the run game almost every single week to have a chance to win and then just connect on some of those plays.
Now, the thing that we have yet to see, and we'll find out, can you out-physical Florida? Because Utah was able to do so with I don't want to say with relative ease, but it looked a lot easier than it should have in week 1. That, I think, is, this is the first true test without the training wheels, right, where you'll go against a conference opponent. It's one of your biggest rivals in college football, and the physicality necessary to win a game like this, on the road in particular, you're going to have to bring your A game. You're going to have to bring your A game in the rushing attack for certain. But I think that the Milton experience, you can be optimistic still if you would like to be. I'm not here to discourage your optimism if you are still somebody who looks at Joe Milton and says, but he has all the potential in the world. I can't fault you for that because he truly does have some spectacular traits. But there's a difference between the traits and the operation of playing the quarterback position. And right now, the operation and the playing of the position at quarterback is not something that he does with great consistency.
And again, there's some irony to it because the thing he was most known for, overthrowing the deep balls, right?
Mm-hmm.
By a large margin. And that's the thing that he's cleaned up the most.
And it would seem.
Yes. And now Tennessee, I don't think Tennessee took a deep shot of, 35 or more yards. We didn't see a 60, 70-yard deep ball from Joe against Austin Peay like we did against Virginia. The one that was dropped by Ramel Keaton was on the money, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think people mistakenly looked at that from Joe and said, that's it. That's the one thing. If he can just connect on those, it's off and running from there, where there's a lot of other things as far as just processing and feel for the game that Joe falls a little bit short on. But the traits and the deep balls and just the nature of the offense is going to get him places this year. But you worry about those shortcomings and how much that'll limit Tennessee.
Tony in Mount Juliet wants to talk Vols. Hey, Tony. Oh, Tony, I can hear myself.
Hey. Sorry. And I'm not going to tell you to go back to Indiana this time. I promise. We're good on that.
Okay.
But what I want to talk about is overthrow Joe. If Josh Heupel doesn't have the what to put Joe on the bench and start. I'm not saying Nico. Nico's not ready.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are, Tony. Yes, you are.
Saying, Tony?
No.
Yes, you are.
No, we have other quarterbacks. Seriously. We have other quarterbacks on the bench that can make them deep throws, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but Joe Milton cannot make the throws. All he has is power. And I'm a true diehard Vols fan. And if Josh Heupel does not make a decision, we're losing 5 games. We're losing at least 5 games. We'll lose next week to Florida. And I hate Florida. But I just want to get your thoughts, and I'm just saying, overthrow Joe, is not the answer.
Thank you for the call, Tony.
I did not have Bench Joe for Gaston Moore on my bingo card before week 3. Bench Joe for Nico, you thought feasible. Maybe we'd get some of those. Not Bench Joe for Gaston Moore or Navy Schuler.
Tyler Dial says, is he a Navy Schuler guy instead?
Wow. Oh, man.
That's how I know he's a true Vols fan.
Wow. Not Bench Joe. Not for Nico. Come on, Tony. We love you. Thank you for the call, but come on. Come on, man.
That's as upset as I've seen Lucas get about a call in real time.
Oh, my goodness. Tennessee has to beat Florida. You have to go down and beat Florida.
They have to beat Florida.
Yes.
Yeah.
A program that seems like it can't even get out of the gates in the Billy Napier era. Here in year 2, you have to. It's a huge game for Joe. He's from the area. He's going to have a ton of family and friends there. They've talked about this game they haven't won there in 2 decades. You simply have to win. Like every year, the Florida game sets the tenor of Tennessee's football season. You have to win in Gainesville on Saturday. However you get that done, if it's in the screen game, if it's on defense, Tennessee's defense has looked much improved this season. If you got to be able to win up front, hit a couple of those deep shots, whatever it takes, and then we'll move on and talk about the next thing. You have to win on Saturday.
I agree. And listen, if they don't, and if, I'm doing hypotheticals here, and I don't like the traffic in these very often, but if they lose at Florida to a team that's clearly worse than them, to a program that's in shambles currently and doesn't seem to have direction, and if Joe is the root cause, then we can have conversations about Joe Milton. But, not for Gaston Moore. Please don't do that. I don't want to watch Gaston Moore this season. Respectfully. Coming up next, Mike Felder. Speaking of college football, a lot of huge, impactful results from week 2. We are going to talk about that with our X's and O's college football expert. Mike Felder is next. Unbelievable. Are we playing this for Gaston Moore?
This is what Tom in Mount Juliet is singing to himself after demanding Joe Milton be benched, not for the 5-star freshman, Nico Iamaleava, but for Gaston Moore.
Gaston Moore. Mike Felder joins us. It must be football season. Michael, it's a pleasure to talk to you. How does it feel to know that Vols fans are already up in arms, not for Nico Iamaleava, but instead for Gaston Moore or Navy Schuler? We haven't ruled out Navy.
Vol singular.
Vol fan, singular.
Oh, my goodness, man. Wow. Hey, man, hey, it's the South, it's college football. Folks get up in arms, and when they think they got one in there, they think they got one in there. And for me, not even for Nico, for Gaston.
That's right. That's right. We're back. It feels so good. It's so good to talk to you. It's great to have you back on the show. College football has been electric in the first 2 weeks. I guess let's start there, Mike. Like, what for you has been the most enjoyable or most exciting? I mean, Deion is probably the obvious answer. It's okay if it's Deion for you.
Well, yeah, we got to say Deion for sure. Absolutely. Really, I'm very curious to see what this Travis Hunter situation looks like in Week 8 compared to Week 2, and so that's going to be interesting. But yeah, they're a team that realized who they are. And I think that watching their evolution over the course of the first 2 games, where they had no tackles for loss, no sacks against TCU, and then all of a sudden they're like, we're small. We are small up front, so we've got to find a way to get into the backfield. That's been interesting. Texas and Alabama, another one. Texas, I thought when Alabama took the lead, I thought Texas was cooked. I thought they were done. I thought they were going to fold up like a lawn chair. And instead, they said, hey, no, we got the get back, and they went and did it. So very cool. And I guess going forward, especially for folks there in Tennessee, the Vols got to play Alabama. And which circles back to the Joe Milton point, is can he get it done? Though we saw Henry Hooker get it done. But to me, Alabama, let me ask you this, Buck. Who would you trade any of these Alabama wide receivers or running backs for guys like Najee Harris, Jahmyr Gibbs, Trent Richardson, Derrick Henry, Amari Cooper, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Jalen Waddle, Jameson? Would you trade any of these guys for those guys?
No. What's going on there, Mike? Like that's such a good observation by you, or such a critical observation by you. Because that beyond, like, I know Alabama can out-physical people. We've seen it so far in the first 2 weeks. But, like, the skill position players right now, is it too much to say 2 seasons is a bit of a trend?
I don't think it's too much. I think the issue, it's a combination of coaching, but also missing. And usually when they missed on a guy, and that guy ends up being like Tyrell Shavers, who transfers somewhere else and has a really good year. He just wasn't ready to do it at Alabama. And I think Clemson's going through the same thing as well, because, look, nobody on that Clemson roster will we trade for Mike Williams or Sammy Watkins or Nuke Hopkins or Higgins. So I think it's just one of these lulls where it's a combination of offensive style, and obviously Tommy Rees is there now, and I still think he doesn't have any identity. We saw some fireworks from him, but it's boom and bust, right? Like it's one of those things where in the passing game, they don't trust Milroe that much, but I'm tired of people talking about Milroe. At the end of the day, if Julio Jones was catching these passes, guess what? He's going to turn one of these things into a monster. Calvin Ridley, same thing. Amari Cooper, the same thing. And Sammy Watkins, Mike Williams, all those guys, same thing. So I think you do have to start looking around beyond the quarterback, and that's the part that's going to be interesting, and that's the part that I'm watching for with respect to Alabama moving forward.
At In the Bleachers is where you follow the great Mike Felder. Of course, you can see him on Bleacher Report. You can watch him on Stadium. The man is cranking out college football content and pre-draft content, which I try not to bother you too much about, but I see you out there doing it, and so people need to be paying attention. I think that the thing for me, you bring up Tommy Rees and a lack of identity thus far with him as the Alabama OC. And, you know, that's why the Rees hire felt a bit counter to me, at least in the last couple of years. Yeah. Not just because Alabama wants to get back to murder ball, right? They're just going to suffocate you to death, but because the offensive coordinators in the past, be it Daboll, be it Sark, be it Lane, you're running their system, and the parts and pieces within it are going to fit within that system. It felt like Reese was hired to basically mold himself to the personnel on the roster and has not been successfully able to do so thus far.
No, I totally agree with you on that. The big thing for me, one, his best pass catcher has been a tight end. They don't have O.J. Howard, let alone, they don't even have a Cameron Letu right now. So what do you want them to do? It's not like they can't do the thing that he did relatively well at Notre Dame. So I'm very curious to see what this looks like. And by the way, look across the country, look at Notre Dame. They're throwing the ball to wide receivers now. So it's like this is a really weird marriage, and I'm curious to see, I'll put it this way. I think that this is a team that Nick Saban does not like. He knows that he's going to have to do it the hard way, which means it's going to take a lot out of him. But, man, this is going to be a rough season. And I don't mean they're going to only win 6 games or 7 games. They're probably going to still be a 10 or 11-win football team. But I do think that this is a football team that Nick Saban is like, hey, man, y'all got to earn it. Because remember 2 years ago, they were in the playoffs, right? And Nick was walking in like, hey, we good. Like, he was walking in being hard on everybody.
Yeah.
And now he's being very nice to people because he doesn't want these kids to break. And I think that's one of those big indicators. As someone who's followed his career from Michigan State moving forward, it's one of those things where you can see the difference, and that difference is a big indicator of what he thinks of a team and what he believes out of a team. I think he likes the defense on this team. He knows they got to gel in the secondary, but I think offensively he's terrified of having to play a game where he has to score more than 30 points.
Well, let's stick with another coaching giant, and he's not in the same classification as Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney is, but Clemson is such a perpetual head scratch right now. Dabo's talking about not wanting to play with the air raid. He's talking about playing with the dirt raid, whatever the hell that means. And their offense is so stagnant where I'm looking at DJ out in the Pac-12, thriving, it would seem, outside of that system, and I'm turning around and saying, well, is the problem actually Clemson? Even though they have done the thing that Dabo typically does not do. They have kind of retooled their coaching staff in a way that was not internal and trying to find ways to make this more productive. What do you make of Clemson's struggles?
So, there's a couple things. One, they had to retool that coaching staff. They brought a bunch of guys on that they felt like they were internal hires or they were like legacy guys. And guess what? Those guys can't always coach. So at the end of the day, you got to find a new way to bring new guys in. And they did. And we saw this from DJ Uiagalelei's father when Clemson lost to Duke. He literally was like, and my kid was the problem. And it's one of those things where, and we're watching DJ, he's balling out. Like, he looks like and you know what the cool thing is? He looks like he's having fun.
Yeah.
He looks like he's having fun. And I think that, I don't know if it's the pressure. I don't know if it's the program. I don't know if it's the new fits. I don't know if it's the different personalities. But for me, Clemson, they don't look like they're having fun. But we talked about this when we were talking about Alabama. Which one of these guys at Clemson would you trade for Mike Williams, Sammy Watkins, Newt Hopkins? Who would you trade for T. Higgins? Which one of these guys you giving up to get if you had those guys, if it was poker and your hand had Sammy Watkins, Newt Hopkins, T. Higgins, Mike Williams, and even Amari Rodgers or Hunter Renfrow or Adam Humphrey, if you had those guys in your hand, would you ever say, give me two? I'll take two, and the two were the guys that are on the roster right now. Would you ever say that? No. And so I think that there's a combination of things. Talking to Clemson fans, because I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Like, this is a Clemson town, which if people don't realize that, it is. It's a Clemson town. It's if I had to rank the sports teams, I'd probably go with South Carolina, Clemson, App State, and then NC State, and then UNC in terms of college football fans.
Right.
And so I get Clemson's whole entire psyche, and the big thing for them is that they're upset. And my next door neighbor's a Clemson fan. My next door neighbors, both of them, the wife and the husband, they both went to Clemson. And he sent me a text and he said, "Imagine if there was only some sort of a way to get good wide receivers, like out of some sort of a portal." And that's the big thing that Clemson fans are struggling with right now.
So did we give Dabo, or did people give Dabo too much credit then, Mike, for retooling his coaching staff without just staying in-house when he didn't go at any lengths to change their stance on the portal or in name, image, and likeness, and clearly that's not paying dividends for them?
I think we gave him – I think the credit was due for retooling the staff, because that's the thing. Remember, this is the second time he's retooled the staff. Remember, the first time was after the Orange Bowl against West Virginia in 2012. And so he retooled the staff then. That's when Venables came in, right? And Chad Morris came in. Chad Morris had come in before that, and then Venables came in. So in that 1.5, 2-year period, they retooled the staff then. They're retooling it now because you can't just hire Taj Boyd and C.J. Spiller and think everything's going to work itself out, because those guys don't know anything about coaching football, and you don't get to be a premier coach in college football or a coach at a premier school in college football with no experience, which is what they are and what they were, and that's why things didn't work. So I do think he gets credit for retooling, but at the end of the day, you also, like, if you're not going to play the same game that everybody else is playing, you either better be very, 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 very good, or the game is leaving you behind, and that's the part we're going to watch and figure out how that works out with Dabo Swinney.
Mike Felder in the bleachers. We're talking college football heading into Week 3. It's going to be an exciting slate, but certainly a lot of fireworks in Week 2.
Mike, is watching the Pac-12 as sad and bittersweet a feeling for you as it is for me? And is the Pac-12 top to bottom the best Power 5 conference in college football right now? I ask with a serious face.
I think they for sure are the most interesting league. Best top to bottom, I don't know if I can say yes, but I'll tell you what, they are better than.
Oh, he has to whisper.
You know what? I'll take that walk with you. Let's do it.
Look at that. Look at that.
Let's do it. I don't care. What's the difference? Let's do it. They are top to bottom. They're the best, because at the end of the day, I can tell you what. What do we think? Who do we think is at the bottom of the Pac-12? Who do we think is at the bottom of the Pac-12? Arizona or Arizona State?
Oh, probably Arizona.
Arizona losing to Mississippi
maybe?
State.
Oh, right. Stanford has so many problems that they need to figure out right now.
But they're kind of fun to watch again.
Yeah,
for the first time in a long time.
But do you think Illinois wants to play Stanford?
No, Brett Bielema wants no part of Stanford.
That's what I'm saying. So, yeah, you know what? I agree with it. Do I think that they're the cream of the crop, the top of the pops? No. I still think that with Georgia, LSU, Florida State, Ohio State, obviously, Michigan, I think those guys are better than anything the Pac-12 can put out there. But once we get into this middle part, this big, it's like a milkshake, right? It's never going up the straw. And that's the thing that, when we talk top to bottom, that's the way I think about it, is there are oh man, shout out to Khalees. There are milkshakes that bring the boys to the yard, absolutely. Ohio State, Georgia, Texas at this point, after what they did to Alabama, yes. But then once you get into that thick part of the milkshake and you can't get through it, and now all of a sudden you got to use a spoon, you got to use a spoon for the Pac-12.
This man did not just make a Khalees reference on the radio show today.
You got to use a spoon.
You got to use a spoon for the Pac-12. If the ACC, guess what? We dribble in and it's fine. The whole ACC could go straight through a straw. I think the whole SEC could go straight through a straw. Big Ten, same thing. But I think the Pac-12, you're going to have to use a milkshake. So, you're going to have to use the straw for that milkshake. And so, yeah, and listen, I love There Will Be Blood. But you ain't going to use a long straw and drink their milkshake up. You're going to have to get some work done, and you're going to have to get your hands dirty.
Mike Felder is here with us on 104.5 The Zone. So, Florida State going the right way or the wrong way through that straw? Because what they have done so far under Mike Norvell, and specifically, Mike, I wonder if you have any thoughts on Alex Atkins, the offensive coordinator that's been there now for a couple of years, been on that staff for a couple of years, and the ways that he is attacking defenses right now.
I love them. I love what they do. And I literally sat down to write my newsletter, and it was 17-17 when I got the headline written out, and then it was 24-17 Florida State when I got to the Florida State part. And then I'm watching the game. This is Sunday night. I'm watching the game, and I'm like, oh, man, I got to change all this. Because the first thing I wrote was, both of these teams are pretty good. They're fine. They're evenly matched. They're okay. And then Florida State was like, hey, man, it felt like I had mentally channeled them. And they were like, no, don't put us in the same camp. Let me show you what we can do. And it's like pulling the ripcord, right? Like when you're starting the blower, you're starting the mower. And they cut LSU down, and they went to work on those guys. And so it was just, I think Florida State's in a good spot. I think they're a team, and Jordan Travis for me is, I understand Drake May is the best draft prospect in the ACC. I like Mitch Griffiths at Wake. I think Cade Klubnik can be good in the future. Riley Leonard is really fun to watch. But, man, Jordan Travis, that's a general out there running. Listen, his battalion is ready to rock and roll for him. And I think what they present on offense there's a humongous group of problems they have because they have a really good running back. They have two really good running backs. They have an offensive line that's better than we've seen them have in almost a decade, right? Since what? 2000? Was it? Oh my God, yeah, that was a decade ago, wasn't it? 2013 is when they went to the college football playoff with Jameis.
Don't age me like that. That hurt me. That cut me deeply.
So, did you hear it in my voice where I'm mentally realizing that was 10 years ago?
Yeah, the realization is palpable through the phone. It was all of us felt that. All of us felt that in our souls, truly.
And then you have that, but their offensive line is good now. And then all of a sudden you have obviously Jared Verse, and you have all these other pieces on defense that make plays, and they're finding a new way to do it. And the cool thing I really like about Mike Norvell is this isn't him trying to reclaim Florida State. This is him saying this is how we do it now. And that, to me, is something Jimbo started, again, as we mentioned, in 2013, good grief. But it's also a thing that like, you can't try to get back. And that's the thing that I think that Miami has an issue with. It's what I'm really proud of Tennessee for doing, where we do it differently now. I think Florida is going to continue to struggle with it until they decide that we're going to do it differently now. This is not us reclaiming Steve Spurrier. This is us doing a new thing. And Georgia, same thing. Georgia struggled, and then all of a sudden they were like, this is Georgia now, and they went and did it. And I think Florida State's in that same phase. They're a scary football team, man, and tell you what, Clemson is not excited to play them soon.
It's felder.substack.com is where you can sign up for the newsletter for all the college football insights and analysis, of course, some cooking notes in there as well. It makes me happy. I just said into Lucas's ear as you were finishing up your answer to that question. I love having Mike on. It's always such a pleasure. I feel like I get smarter every time we do one of these segments. I'm not going to lie to you. I was not mad at you when you flaked on us last time. I was just disappointed, but you made up for it with the Khalees reference. Well done by you.
Listen, I am sorry. My kid, I was not expecting to go to the pool. I was expecting to use the radio spot to not go to the pool. And my kid begged me to go to the pool because it was the last pool Saturday that I could go to, it was pool Monday that I could go to, and she begged me to do it. So I didn't have my headphones, which automatically alert me, and I didn't have my cell phone because I was actually in the pool, which, by the way, Buff, I have a spreadsheet full of parents that I now know from school and the pool because my kid just started kindergarten, and I have to remember who these people are, and I got to go add to it today.
You don't have a spreadsheet with like you're charting college football games on an Excel sheet. You're an insane person. This is why we love you. At In the Bleachers is where you follow. Thanks for stopping by, bud.
Thanks. It's always great, man. I can't wait to talk to you again soon. Y'all take it easy.
That's Mike Felder. Hall of Famer Kevin Mawae joins us coming up next. Welcome back to the show. Normally at this time we do Tennessee high school football heroes, but we got a special edition this week. Hall of Famer, Lipscomb Academy coach Kevin Mawae is on the line with us. They've got a big game coming up this Friday, hosting Ensworth, 7 p.m. You can hear the game right here on 104.5 The Zone. Coach, I appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, glad to be a part of it, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So just the trajectory of your coaching career before we talk about the season that you guys are having so far and the opportunity ahead, the trajectory from, working through the pro ranks, obviously having played, going into college at Arizona State, and then last year with the Indianapolis Colts, now coming, or the last couple of years with the Indianapolis Colts before landing at Lipscomb. What has that kind of taught you throughout the course of that span that you've been working through the coaching ranks?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's really football is just about teaching and whatever level it is, and you just got to understand the level that you're teaching kids. And if you can get them to buy in, then you can do something special with them. So being at the high school level, obviously, is not as complex as the college and pros. So you just kind of make it, you've got to understand what level they're capable of and how much they can understand and keep it as simple as possible.
How many of those moments did you have kind of learning how to approach kids that way where you feel like they may teach you some stuff?
They definitely, I think definitely from the cultural standpoint, understanding 15 and 16-year-olds is a little bit different than when I raised my teenagers. So understanding that everything's about the me now mentality with the young guys and social media aspects, all about the clicks and the touches and stuff like that. So that's something new that was just on the forefront when I was a dad of teenagers. But at the end of the day, it's really just understanding kids, let them know that you care about them, and developing relationships with them. And, the old adage goes, like, when they know you care, they don't care how much you know until they know you care. And we're building those relationships here every day.
Coach, coaching along the offensive line in Indianapolis before you came down to take this job, was there kind of an adjustment for you in just taking a step back and not, trying to get yourself away from honing in on the offensive line? Or did you still feel like you pay a special attention to that group? I guess it'd be a question for the players. What's it like to play right guard under Hall of Famer Kevin Mawae? But what was that adjustment like for you?
Well, I'm always going to be an offensive line guy, so I'm always going to drift towards the O-line side of the field. Fortunately for me, the O-line coach that was here for the last 3 years is a former teammate of mine, was an offensive tackle in the NFL as well. And so he's done a really great job. And then he mentored our current offensive line coach, who's doing a really good job with our young players. But I do have a tendency to drift that way. And even when I'm watching defensive periods on film, I end up I spend more time paying attention to the offensive line than I do defensive schemes. But it's just the nature of it. It's something. It's where I'm comfortable. It's where I'm really good at. But also, you got to give leeway to your coaches and trust that they're doing what you want them to do. And I do. My guys do a good job.
Kevin Mawae is here with us on 104.5 The Zone, Lipscomb Academy head coach. They have a big game coming up this weekend hosting Ensworth. You can hear it right here on 104.5 The Zone, 7 p.m., the kickoff. So the start of the season, mixed results for you guys, a pretty brutal schedule, though your opponents really, really a high level in the early stages. Now heading into week 5, Coach, what have you kind of learned about your team?
Well, I do know our kids don't quit. They won't give up. We played IMG, was a tough game. Anybody would be crazy to schedule them in a regular season, let alone them, and then going to Alabama and playing the number 1 team in the state of Alabama. But though they were both losses, we learned a lot about our resolve, our guys' willingness to fight and play all the way to the end. There's no quit in them. We got a little break when we went to with Briarcrest. We got the win, the first in-state win, and a division win for us. So we're getting there. Had a great game against Baylor this past Friday. They're the number 1 team in the state. And so we've challenged ourselves. I think somewhere along the way, somebody said we had like one of the 3rd or 4th toughest high school schedules in the country, and it's panned out to be that way. But our guys, they continue to fight. They continue to believe in what we're trying to accomplish. And so it's been fun watching them overcome some of these obstacles to become the team that we know we're capable of being.
Well, what kind of challenge does Ensworth pose as you guys make your preparations?
Well, they got a couple good players. Some of them go both ways. They got one of the top, linebacker safeties in the state. I know numbers. I don't know names. So number 8's a special player for them. a good running back and a good wide receiver. So we just got to make sure that we know who their guys are, put our dudes on their dudes and let us go play ball. And that's the difference between high school football. It's like sometimes you just outmatch other guys by talent. In our division, the AAA division here, everybody's got somebody going to a big college and everybody's got big name players. So we got to make sure that our matchups are where we want them to be.
Kevin Mawae here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Coach Lucas told me that he broke the news to you that Aaron Rodgers had ruptured his Achilles on Monday Night Football last night. As somebody who had so much success with the Jets, and I know going into the Hall of Fame how much that organization means to you, I just can't think of a more tortured fan base as of late.
It's tough. I mean, sometimes the Jets fans feel like they're snake bitten. In '99. We're coming off the APSU championship game, and Vinny Testaverde tears his Achilles in week 2. So I've been through that with our quarterback. It's just somebody's got to step up and take over. And obviously, when you lose a Hall of Fame quarterback, you lose a lot. But it's unfortunate that happened. And the great thing about the NFL is you can play a 17-week schedule, so they got a lot of time to find out who that guy is and hopefully bounce back from it.
As an offensive lineman, how difficult is that adjustment in a game? Even things like cadence that could affect your operation when you're going from that quickly from the starting quarterback who you've spent so much time with to the backup right out of the gate.
Yeah, it's difficult, somewhat difficult. I know, but those guys, not like the first time they were taking snaps from the backup guy from Wilson. So I think they'll bounce back from it. But it's just, I think what you lose more than anything is the confidence of knowing that you have a Hall of Fame quarterback back there taking care of the job, and now he's not there. So what it really does is put more of the onus on the offensive line to step up and protect the young quarterback and get the ball rolling. And anytime something like that happens to the quarterback, the best thing you can do is have a good running game. So they're going to have to develop that running game and have confidence in it until the quarterback is playing at the level that they feel comfortable with.
Coach Kevin Mawae, Lipscomb Academy, kind enough to spend some of his time with us this afternoon. They're hosting Ensworth this coming weekend. It's 104.5 The Zone's Game of the Week. Coach, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. Continued health and success for you and the team.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having us. See you.
That's Kevin Mawae with us on 104.5 The Zone.
Talent-loaded matchup Friday. Talent-loaded matchup. Couple Tennessee commits on the Lipscomb Academy defensive side, and Caleb Beasley and Edwin Spillman. One of the Ensworth guys Coach Mawae was talking about, Jaron Sensabaugh, plays both ways. Knox Catholic transfer. Vanderbilt recruiting him heavily. Looking forward to it. 6:45 pregame, 7 p.m. kick on Friday.
Coming up next, Mike Vrabel discusses Derrick Henry's usage against the Saints.
It is 12:03. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios. Breaking news this morning in the National Football League. Aaron Rodgers is out for the season after tearing his Achilles 4 plays in to his New York Jets debut on Monday Night Football. Ultimately, it was a 22-16 win for the Jets on a walk-off 65-yard punt return for a touchdown by undrafted rookie Xavier Gipson in overtime, but Rodgers officially done for the year. Diana Rossini reporting that the Jets are exploring veteran free agent options at the quarterback position, but in the meantime, Zach Wilson will get the start. So as week 1 wrapped up in the NFL, the Tennessee Titans turned their attention to the home opener against the Los Angeles Chargers in week 2. Running back Derrick Henry only received 5 touches on Sunday in the second half in the loss to the Saints. Mike Vrabel met with the media Monday, was asked if that will be an outlier coming down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that, those are something like we're going to need a Derrick, and we're going to need everybody and making sure that we get into a rhythm and that we figure out things that we can do consistently. And Derrick will be a huge part of that. I can assure you.
For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once and your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour 3 is here. So is Cory Curtis of WKRN News 2. Best hairdo in the business. Always a pleasure. We're going to talk some Titans with CC. 615-737-1045. That's the number. The F&M Bank chat, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is where you can interact. Hey, bud.
What's up?
How are you?
I'm good. I just got off the treadmill and made my way here. I'm early.
I know, but that's fine. We have lots to discuss. Week 1, a disaster for a variety of different quarterbacks.
Yes.
I mean.
Yeah, and guys who make more money than Tannehill.
Indeed. Although Ryan Tannehill, one of the, let's say, bottom 4 performances of quarterbacks that were out there in Week 1, excluding Aaron Rodgers. We must start there. What did you make of the disaster that was the New York Jets? The rare disastrous win for the New York Jets. We just talked to Kevin Mawae. Lucas broke the news to him last night on a phone call getting ready for high school football. The rest of the NFL world, though, jaw dropped. I think people still picking their jaws up off the floor.
Well, I just think Zach Wilson's not going to take them anywhere. I mean, their defense is good, and Josh Allen just handed that game over. He was not very good last night. He said so. He was right. We saw it in Week 1. We saw quarterbacks lose games. All right. Now, Aaron Rodgers, when they said ankle and I saw that replay, I'm like, he blew out his Achilles. I mean, as soon as you saw that calf area just vibrating like that, I'm like, his Achilles just snapped. And I knew he was done for the year. It just, look, man, it's the Jets and it's the Browns. It's the Jets and it's the Browns. It's the Jets and it's the Browns. Every year they talk up those two teams, and every year it is like an avalanche of bad news.
I feel so bad. I feel so bad, and it's not even just the like, as you said, the Achilles or the calf reverberations.
Yeah.
How they report it in the press box, because we were doing a primetime show live last night, and people were confused that they didn't understand why I thought it was an Achilles when he was ruled
ankle.
out with an ankle, and I had to explain to them, no, if they're saying X-ray's negative, he's ruled out with an ankle, that means he just hasn't had the MRI yet. That's all that means.
And it's in the ankle area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ankle-ish.
Ankle-ish. It's like hockey, upper body.
So, quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers notwithstanding, you mentioned Josh Allen literally handing away the game.
4 turnovers.
Threw away the game.
And you knew, look, this. You know what's worse about this, Buck? He knew who was on the other side of the field.
Yeah.
He knew Zach Wilson was over there. And that guy freaking stinks. He's terrible. So all you got to do is not turn the football over, and the Buffalo Bills are going to win the game. That's all you got to do. You got to play safe. Just play safe. You'll walk out with your W.
He just needs to relax. Like the whole RELAX thing with Aaron Rodgers a couple of years ago. Like,
too much.
Chill out, bud.
You don't have to score 40 every game.
There's so much frenetic movement. he has, and listen, he's been asked to shoulder a lot specifically, and we'll talk about Ryan Tannehill being, shouldering, it looked like in that offense, being asked to shoulder a bit more and not being able to execute. But I think that with Josh Allen more than anything, it was a feel-good moment for the Jets. How much it ends up mattering in the grand scheme of things, likely not much. It is a far worse loss than good win for a worse loss for the Buffalo Bills than it was a good win for the New York Jets for exactly the reason that you just laid out.
Yeah, no, it is a bad loss for the Bills. I mean, because he had turnover problems last year, and you would have thought that would have been the onus coming into the season was correcting those, and he just seems to have doubled down on it. And that position's too important. I mean, we saw right here with the Titans this last weekend. If that position doesn't play well, you have a tough time winning the football game.
So let's talk about Tannehill in just a second, because the biggest criticism, or at least the biggest flashpoint, non-Tannehill related today, is Derrick Henry. Anytime they lose, and Derrick Henry is not, given the ball 30 or 25 plus times, let's say, it's always going to be a point that's scrutinized. You were there at the Vrabel press conference yesterday. We carried it live. I obviously can't be there when the radio show is on. Mike's response when asked about, in fact, we have Mike Vrabel talking about this. Mike Vrabel was asked, Lucas, if you have that ready to go. Mike Vrabel was asked specifically about Derrick Henry's usage, and this is what he had to say.
To win, like every year.
Oh, what was that? That was me.
Something different.
Are you cutting? Are you being self-involved? What's going on back there?
Cutting audio.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to do that to you in real time. Now, can I hear from Mike Vrabel?
Well, I don't think it's a new feature of the offense. We're just trying to get everybody involved, and I think continue to find ways to get Tajay and Derrick in there. Derrick certainly gave us a chance to win in his performance, and so did Tajay. Tried to hit him a few times down the field. Certainly his average when he carried the football would lend itself to tell us that he has to carry it more, and try to continue to find ways to get both of them involved at the same time and in same package and whatever it may be.
In the past, when you guys get into that 4-minute offense with that game being close, one of the trademarks has been Derrick Henry in the fourth quarter. He only got 3 carries there. Was there anything behind that? Was there a reason why he wasn't featured as much?
No, not specifically. We weren't in that 4-minute mode. We were trying to go score. I wish that we were. I wish that we were able to be in that mode. But no, just trying to get in the flow of the game and some of the things that have been working, and then being behind. Certainly needing a touchdown and then the long yardage, and it kind of takes him a little bit out of the game. And it'll be Derrick will be a large part of what we do. But when you get into 3rd and longs and you get into 2nd and 15s, and we had the 2nd and 20 that we threw him a swing pass to, he's going to continue to help us.
Their average 3rd down position was 3rd and 8.
Yeah, he repeated that number a few times. I mean, you're going to go 2 for 12.
Yeah,
you're going to go 2 for 12 generally when you're 3rd and 8. So you got to be better on. And this is something not just Coach Vrabel, but we've heard this over and over. If we're going to be better on 3rd down, we got to be better on 1st and 2nd down.
Yeah, the ideal 3rd down plan is not to play them.
Yeah, so the Titans have got to be better on 1st and 2nd down. And with Derrick Henry, you would think that would be the case. Look, Tajay was good. So I'm not taking away from his usage at all. Daniel Brunskill doubled down on Tajay and how good he was and how good he's been with this team. So nobody's questioning that. Derrick had 107 yards at halftime, rushing and receiving combined. So he was an effective weapon for you. And, I know one of the other things Coach Vrabel talked about was, there were times Derrick was in there and they show a look and they can't run into that look because but that's part of the beauty of having Derrick back there. You're going to make defenses crowd the line of scrimmage, should give you opportunities down the field. And they were never down by more than 7 points.
Yeah.
So I don't agree with the assessment that you're
he was
down.
taken out of the game.
Yeah, no, because you're one possession away the entire time. I think they just got away from it a little bit more than they would have liked. I think judging by his response to some of that stuff, he's not going to admit that. But I think he kind of feels I don't know how many more touches Derek should have got. And I don't think it's the touches that got everybody. It's the snap count.
Yeah.
What was he, 45, 48%?
Under 50% of the
yeah.
snaps.
I mean, that doesn't seem, quite right. But again, you complete one pass to Tajay or to Chig, and we're talking about a W. And, man, look at the young guy complimenting Derek in the backfield. He's going to be so fresh when the playoffs get here.
No, and that's clearly what they're signaling.
Yes.
Corey, that's what they're signaling. They're signaling that they're trying to sustain Derrick Henry longer.
Going to be 30.
That's what I'm saying. And Spears is good. Like, I know you all need, and you all being the audience, like, you all need a larger sample size. I understand that you saw him in a limited opportunity. Maybe you didn't get out to practice at training camp to see him doing some of this stuff. Maybe you didn't see him in the preseason, and this is your first opportunity to consume him. All I'm saying is that dude is going to factor in this way more meaningfully than has Darrington Evans or Dontrell Hilliard or Deion Lewis, predecessors for this type of back that they've tried to find to complement Derek. The thing that makes Derek so singular is he's a workhorse back in an era that just does it by committee everywhere else in the league. They've now found his committee member that I think that you can place him with, and they have to figure out the balance in real time. It may have worked had they not had the turnovers at that rate, had they not missed the opportunities at that rate, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of second guessing, but I do think that they are signaling to us clearly and obviously that Tajay Spears and Derrick Henry are going to coexist in a more meaningful way.
And we saw them in the backfield at the same time a number of times, and that leads to how much you're going to see Tajay used in the passing game because you can split him off into the slot. They even split him out wide sometimes, trying to get mismatches with him. And the other thing he showed, and it was brought up yesterday, I remember one play in particular where he filled on the pass rush and just lit his guy up, just stoned him. And so he's really worked hard on that part of the game. And if he wasn't good in that part of the game, his snaps would not have been near what they were. And so it's exciting to see because Hilliard was a nice piece. He was. He was
their best receiving option last year.
I mean, he and Hooper had 4 touchdowns each. They led the way. But I mean, he was a nice addition, and they've been, like you said, they've been trying to get this Robin to Batman for a while, and I'm not so sure he's not Batman in waiting, not just Robin. I mean, the kid can really play. And so I'm excited about what you can see from both of them. And that doesn't mean I don't want to see Derrick Henry on the field because Derrick looked good. I mean, he looked good. He looked fast. He looked strong. He sent another DB into orbit. I mean,
stiff arm in midseason form.
Yeah, I mean, it was Marcus May.
Yeah,
I mean, he launched the dude when it was with his left arm.
It was so bad.
I mean,
all right, so. Running backs we'll continue to talk about. We'll take your phone calls, 615-737-1045. But this system is asking more of the quarterback, and the quarterback did not get it done. We will discuss that with Cory Curtis, WKRN News 2, coming up next. Get ready. More football on the horizon. May feel like the world was ending in week 1. A lot of fan bases spiraling across the NFL today, but I assure you there are still 16 more regular season games to be played for every team that is going through it. Cory Curtis, WKRN News 2, is here hanging out with us. Titans are one of the fan bases that are spiraling, bud. They're spiraling.
Man, Sunday was wild.
Hard and fast. I had somebody tweet me saying, we really do owe Todd Downing an apology. I threw up my hands. I said, I've seen it all.
Yeah. Okay, let me start with that, okay? I've seen to fire Tim Kelly.
Yes.
Tim Kelly's terrible. Tim Kelly drew up 2 beauties, okay? The quarterback has to be able to complete wide open passes with no one in his face, okay? Those were wonderfully called and drawn up plays.
Agreed.
All right, and this is... Daniel Brunskill said it was one of the 5 loudest games he's ever been a part of. I know you were there.
It was insane. I've never been at an NFL atmosphere like that. Not even the Chiefs in 2019 for the AFC Championship game. The Superdome was awesome.
And that was a top 5 defense last year?
Yes.
Okay, so what are we talking about? We're talking about a new offensive line, all right, taking on a top 5 defense in an extremely hostile environment. They looked a lot like I expected them to look.
Yeah.
And now, look, I don't expect them to miss wide open throws for touchdowns. All right. And like I've said, they complete one of them, they win the game. It's that simple. And I expected them to win this game. They made too many mistakes to win the game. Pretty big call went against him as well.
Yeah. Before we talk about Tannehill, you brought up the offensive line and you brought up Daniel Brunskill. I was very surprised to see the offensive line. Now, I know pass blocking and run blocking win rate that ESPN measures these things by. It's kind of like the FPI, the Football Power Index. How really do you get to these numbers? And there's always that in question. But I did think that it was notable to see the Titans offensive line grade out well in both categories. For Andre Dillard, who was not good in the first half.
Got better.
And who Vrabel, we talked to him, or I guess we talked to him about Dillard specifically yesterday. For Andre Dillard to have the 9th best run block win rate percentage of any offensive lineman in football in the first week was surprising to me. To see the Titans as a unit have performed well was surprising to me because that was not the sense that I had in New Orleans. That was not the sense that I had anytime that they dropped back, even as I know what the Saints are as a defense. And it just further emphasizes the fact that Tannehill did have time upon rewatch, was holding the ball, mechanically poor, misses left and right beyond the interceptions. The offensive line is still in question. But right now, I don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be. It should not be as big a talking point in the Tannehill discussion as I think it's being made.
I think there's some bias because of, like you said, the slow start.
Yeah.
I mean, people that's the first impression that you get. You see that overwhelmed and that's your lasting impression. Then everything that happens after that just kind of stacks on top of it. I think it's much more promising that they were able to settle down and play better. And again, what did you expect? What did we see in Minneapolis? What did we see against the Patriots? We saw a unit struggle at the beginning and get it together as they got some more time on the field. And that's what happened in this football game. Communication's a big thing for those guys, especially with a rookie like Peter Skoronski, a new center in Aaron Brewer, and that's an extremely important communication position, and you're in a really loud environment. The fact that they were able to get better is really promising. I mean, their run numbers, I don't know what they ended up being. They weren't bad. I've
got all the numbers in front of me.
Henry had 51 at halftime.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it wasn't bad. And I know Sharp had the long one over the left side where he that wasn't where the hole was, but that's where he ran, and he made it happen. But
they ended up averaging 4.7 yards a carry, 104 yards, 22 carries.
Yeah, so it's not enough carries.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, but again, when you're in 2nd and 20, 2nd and 15, or whatever happening on first down.
Yeah.
That's the problem you're in. And I know, fans don't want to see running plays on first down, but this is why you run on first down, because you get in 2nd and 7, 2nd and 6, and it's much more manageable for 2 plays than a holding penalty on first down or an incomplete and now 2nd and 10. So, they've just and I'm not advocating not throwing the ball on first down. I certainly am, but you got to be more efficient.
Well, and think about this. For those of you like myself who are advocating for less first down runs, they ran it less on first down.
Yeah.
They ran on first down 10 times. They threw on first down 16 times. People can't have it both ways. You can't ask for a more efficient version or at least more efficient tendencies on offense. Get that, and then remove the context of the missed opportunities that were there and apply it to your analysis of the offensive coordinator specifically after the fact. I think that Tim Kelly is being largely talked about incorrectly by at least a lot of fan response that I've seen.
There's another play we haven't talked about that was a first down play, and that's the interception to Chris Moore.
Yeah.
Okay? He's got Chigakonkwo wide open underneath. Buck, nothing infuriates me more than first down interceptions. I hate them. Look, if the ball gets tipped by the receiver and it happens, whatever. But putting the ball in jeopardy on first down to me is just mind-numbing. Mind-numbing. You got 2 more downs. Throw it in the stands, all right?
Yeah.
Don't put it in don't throw a 50. Look, when there's 2 guys on them, it's no longer a 50-50 ball, all right? Now it's a 33 ball. And you've got another guy wide open. And also you got 2 more downs. It's just, from a guy who's that experienced, it's an inexplicable decision. It really is.
The whole day was inexplicable from him, from Tannehill.
Yeah. And sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
But like you said,
I talk too much anyway.
No, I do too. This is me. We are 2 people who talk too much.
That's okay.
16 plays where they threw it on first down. They're telling Tannehill, we want you to win more games for us.
Do it.
It's your time. We believe in you. Go do it. He's got to do it. He's got to elevate. He's got to elevate.
And much less not be the primary cause for collapse. There were plenty of reasons that they lost the game, right? They looked like they were sound on special teams. All of a sudden, a punt gets blocked. They look like they are holding serve on defense. To hold an NFL offense to 16 points is going to win you games more often than not. In fact, I believe Lucas gave me the stat yesterday that teams that were held to, I think, under 20 points were 8-1 in week 1, and the Titans were the team that lost. So you understand the reasons as to why it was that they fell apart the way that they did, even as it was only a 1-point loss. Tannehill specifically, though, mechanically, I was shocked by how poor it was. He has had the holy hell knocked out of him the last 2 seasons. I understand why there might be a degree of skittishness. That's not something that I've ever seen from him before, though, because a hallmark of his game, the reason why Mike Vrabel backs Ryan Tannehill as often as he does is because he is eminently tough, hangs in the pocket, delivers throws. He was patting the football. He was getting Blaine Gabbert happy feet. It was a very, very uncharacteristic performance. You may say that, he throws 3 interceptions all the time, which is not accurate, but I understand why people have that prism in there or running things through that prism. But I'm talking about from a mechanical skill set, fundamentally sound quarterback performance. I know him to be that 9 times out of 10, and for some reason we got the 10th on Sunday.
Yeah, well, and I think I wrote a lead into a story yesterday, basically just saying he's played way too much good football for me to look at this performance and say, this is what he is.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, he's going to have to be better, and I appreciate Coach Vrabel saying he's got to be better and not couching it at all. I mean, because doesn't take a football expert to watch that one and know that he's got to be better. And along the lines of what you're saying is just, I think most disturbing was how uncomfortable he looked. And I don't know if it was the environment, if it was his lack of trust in the guys in front of him, or just, coming off the injury. I don't know, and I'm very anxious to see what happens next week when he's got Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, bearing down.
Cory Curtis, WKRN News 2, hanging out with us in studio. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Why don't we take some phone calls since there are people on the line? How about Scott in Goodlettsville up next?
Hey, guys.
Hey, Scott.
Hey, it's such a disappointment. We got all these new players.
Oh, he got zapped.
He didn't make 60 to 60 seconds.
That's okay.
He made it to 6.
Short hook around here. Scott, your phone line is terrible. I'm sorry, but a disappointing result nonetheless. To go back to the comfort level of the quarterback, it was telling to me that he was going to Nick Westbrook-Akina as often as he was. That, to me, indicates, okay, where is the thing that I trust the most? Here's NWI, who I have chemistry with. It might have been Phillips under different circumstances. He was forcing balls to DeAndre Hopkins, even though we would have looked at that and said, well, if you're going to force it to anybody, it might as well be him, right, going into the game. And that worked to their detriment, obviously. I think, though, that, my biggest indication that he was uncomfortable was how often he was going to NWI. And NWI made some plays to his credit, but the volume there was the thing to me that was like, okay, he's not trusting something out here, so he's going to keep going back to his guy.
Yeah, it was interesting because we were waiting for Treylon Burks all game, and then they gave him the ball 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, here's the Treylon Burks sequence. And you've got to find a way to mesh that through the whole game. And obviously disappointing that Treylon dropped the one football that would have been a first down.
This is a tough 2nd and 5 drop.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there are a number of plays where really that was a killer, and that was a killer for this football team. And NWI is like the old blanket. It's beat up, it's worn, but it's always there for you.
It's got a particular scent that just you find it comforting.
But also, he was open.
He was open.
He was open. And again, I expected Burks to have a big day because I thought all the attention, rightfully so, would be on DeAndre. And that, look, 50-50 ball to Burks one-on-one, I'm going to take that.
Sure.
I don't think we saw that. We saw him throw into double coverage with Chris Moore. We saw him throw into double coverage.
Not a 50-50 ball.
No, that's why I said it's a 33-33-33 ball.
And it's really a 33-66 ball.
Yeah. And Chig, I don't understand. I mean, did he have another one thrown his way other than the one when he was streaking wide open down the sideline?
I'm looking at targets right now. Chigakonkwo had 2 targets, no receptions.
That's not good enough.
Let's see. For Treylon Burks, it was 3 targets, 2 receptions, 18 yards.
Those aren't enough.
Chris Moore, 1 target, no receptions. Spears, 4 targets, 1 reception.
Yeah, I mean, those 2 guys, 16 and 85, they need 4 targets a game at least. In my estimation. Otherwise, you're wasting their talents.
They threw the ball 33 times.
Yeah. How many went to Hopkins?
Target-wise, I've got 13 targets for DeAndre Hopkins.
There you go. How many times was he open?
Probably
4.
4.
Yeah. So again, there's a lot of forced into Hopkins. And look, we all talked about he doesn't have to be open to get him the football, but that doesn't mean you have to prove it.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's fine if you're testing that theory in practice and you get some highlights to throw on Twitter. It's not that great when Dennis Allen knows that that's the thing that you're going to be going for.
I mean, 13-3, and 2, that's not the balance I'm looking for with those 3 players. All right? Yeah. If I could see 9 or 10 to Hopkins, 6 or 7 to 16, and 4 or 5 to 85, I think that's more the action we're looking for.
Jack is up next, wants to Jack in Nashville. Hey, Jack.
Hey, buddy. How's it going?
Good.
Why are we still playing Tannehill and expecting something different with the same performances over the past few years?
Well, because it's not the same performance as the last few years. It's the worst performance of his career.
Well, this is true. This is true. But, I mean, I think we're going to have to back up and punt at some point in time and find something else that's going to work and click.
Well, they're trying. I mean, they clearly want something better. They've drafted it the last 2 years in a row. And what it tells you is they haven't found it yet, or that player hasn't developed to that point yet. Look,
you would agree Tannehill, even after Sunday, is still the best option, bar none, for them at quarterback.
It's not a question.
Yes.
It's not even a question. And as I try to tell everybody, the Tennessee Titans, Mike Vrabel, Rand Carthon, Amy Adams-Strunk, all they are interested in is winning games. They're not about appeasing players, appeasing coaches, appeasing fans. They want to win games. If NWI gave them the best chance to win at quarterback, NWI would take the snaps.
Yeah.
Okay? So this isn't holding something against Malik or holding something against Will. They're not ready.
They're not
They're
ready.
not better than Tannehill yet. And I get that might frustrate you, that might upset you, but it's reality. And if you watch them at practice, you know it's reality. You see flashes, you see growth, but you also see stuff that you just go, not ready.
Houston calling us from Portland up next.
Hi, guys. How are y'all doing?
Great.
Man, honestly, looking at the Titans offense, I don't disagree with the words y'all been saying. I mean, he didn't look comfortable or nothing. I think a lot of the issue, and I think Tim Kelly's play calling was actually great. It was completely different, new. I loved it. Man, I will say this, though. I think a lot of our issues when it regards to Tannehill was timing Sunday. As you could tell, he had not, especially like the Chigo Conquo throw that he overthrew by like 5 yards. I feel like that was strictly timing right there. But you can't blame everything on Tannehill because not one person's going to win you the game or lose you the game. Defensively, the secondary had some errors. I mean, there were errors all over the field. But I think what the Titans offense really needs is just some time, and I think that's all we really need, some time.
All right, appreciate the call, Houston. Why don't we talk about that? Last call for phone calls. We'll do some polls with Cory Curtis, WKRN News 2, hanging out in studio with us. The idea that they needed potentially more time spent together. They had 3 opportunities to do so in the preseason. We'll talk about that coming up next. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. How am I supposed to finish a radio show when I got giant jumbo smoked wings from Central Barbecue hanging out my mouth? Man, these never disappoint. Cory Curtis hanging out in studio with us for one more segment, sampling some of the brisket tacos.
Pork
Tacos. Yep. We also have brisket. Lucas, what did you eat back there from Central Barbecue?
All of it.
That is 100% so. Yes,
he's about 140 pounds, so he can eat all of it.
It's so bizarre. He's not like a physically overwhelming person, but my God, his ability to consume things at a rate that I have, unlike anybody else I know. Truly.
Kobayashi, Joey Chestnut.
Have you ever thought about competitive eating?
No, because I eat at not a normal rate.
It's not a normal rate.
It's more than normal, but it's also not like Robert Walsh can out-eat me. Like there are people that you just eat at an absurdly low rate where you look at delicious food and you're disgusted by it, other than Central Barbecue. But like my rate is a few notches above normal, but you act like I'm Kobayashi, which is not the case.
Look, guys, I'm old. All right, I'm just here to tell you, it all changes. When I was 21, I'd like eat a pizza for lunch and a pizza for dinner, like the whole thing. All right, now I have like 3 pieces and I'm stuffed. It's just for whatever reason, you get older, life stinks. Okay,
just generally.
It's just, I mean, Buck's life stinks earlier than most. That's all.
That's about the best way I've heard it put, to be honest.
That my life stinks earlier than most.
Yeah.
I have been 65 my entire life.
He's wearing a cardigan right now.
It's the Benjamin Button. It is quite brisk. It's a personality Benjamin Button though. Like physically, I look better than I ever have, and I don't just say that because I'm deeply, deeply vain. Like I'm in as good a shape.
You're that too, but yes, you are in good shape.
Also the vanity, yeah. But yes, I'm in great shape now. But like I have been 65 my entire life, and I don't know how to explain it.
I think you're just disappearing into thin air at this point.
He was born with a beard.
You need more Central Barbecue in you.
I'm happy to eat more Central Barbecue. In fact, we'll get some calls and do the polls and get me right back to my Central Barbecue because I had to pull myself away to turn the microphone back on. Quickly though, Cory, for this upcoming game, the home opener at Nissan Stadium, the Chargers. Now they did not win against the Dolphins, but they look like they are thoroughly capable of causing problems on both sides of the ball. This does seem like what is one thing you would like to see changed before we do some poll questions here heading into this week 2 opponent?
Score a touchdown.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be good.
Touchdowns would be nice.
What
do you make of the red zone?
Well, you got to be able to run the football. All right. I mean, it gets small down there. You don't have to cover as much in the receiving game. But again, you've got long targets. I mean, Treylon Burks, DeAndre Hopkins, those guys should be good red zone targets. I mean, I'm sure Josh Wiley, he probably wasn't active for this game, right?
No, I don't think Wiley was up.
But he would be another one. I mean, you've got these huge red zone targets, but you got to be able to run the football in there. I mean, the Titans, and everybody bagged on their field goals number last year, but they were the number 1 red zone team in the league, so they weren't kicking a lot of field goals because they were scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
And the reason they were so good and have been so good in the red zone is because they've been given the ball to Derrick Henry and everything that they can do off of that, whether it be the Wildcat and Henry throwing passes to Corey Davis or whoever.
Michael, your Cole Pruitt.
Yes, the Saluki great. All he does is score touchdowns. They've got to be able to run the football in the red zone, and you can't be in second and third and long in there. And to me, it's that simple.
Polls, please.
And now the polls have to be updated. We've reached a crucial point in the show. It's time to update the polls. Take my hand and get to the chopper. Lucas Panzica will give us the final update. Why am I yelling? It's giving me a headache, but it's only a headache. It's not a tumor. Hasta la vista, baby. I'll be back. Why am I yelling?
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, who sells below MSRP on any non-specialty new Ford. What in sports made you say, oh no, over the weekend? George says the Vols and Titans partnering up to give us some of the most disjointed offensive football in the same weekend.
What made you say, oh no, Cory?
Joe Burrow is my fantasy quarterback on both teams.
No. Oh, no.
For most people, it was seeing Aaron Rodgers go down and get carted off.
Indeed.
What will be the biggest difference in the Titans' offensive game plan against the Chargers? Darius says, use this guy. I think he's pretty good. It's a gif of Henry stiff-arming Norman into the atmosphere.
I honestly, like, if they go about it the same way, I'm really not that upset about it. I know people are pissed about the Derrick Henry usage. The more that I think about it, the more the times that I've watched back that game, the more I'm comfortable with it. The thing that I'm not comfortable with is the errors, the egregious errors left and right by the quarterback.
I think there's going to be more of an emphasis on getting positive yards on first down, whether that be short pass plays or running the football a little bit more.
That's fine.
I think first down is going to be an emphasis for them.
Michael says he doesn't want to see a change in game plan, just execution. Says Tannehill faces a must-win.
Well, the rare week 2 must win. But I will say, conference opponent, Chargers figure to be in the mix at the end of it. This is a good opportunity to showcase that you are not a complete and total waste of space in the AFC, the way that your fan base seems to think you are after 1 week of football.
By the way, Chargers also 0-1 and would be looking at 2 AFC losses if they lost this one. They are the perennial Lucy of the NFL. They got the football. We all pick them every year to be good, and they just pull that football away.
Oh, it's so true. I do love the Chargers every preseason, and then every year they have so many injuries.
I love their roster every year.
Jameson says Cory Curtis is a living legend. Yes, indeed. We always appreciate CC hanging out here with us.
Was last night a worse loss for the Bills or a better win for the Jets? 74% say worse for the Bills.
Agreed.
Yep.
Agreed.
They gave it away.
AFC East, divisional loss, no Aaron Rodgers, Zach Wilson,
you
terrible.
Lost to Zach Wilson,
no,
man.
You lost to Garrett Wilson is who you lost to.
Oh. Who has the best resume in college football so far this season? Jared says Texas probably, but Utah the only team to have beaten 2 Power 5 programs. Utah winning at Baylor over the weekend in comeback fashion. Eric says it's Florida State. Brett says it's Texas, probably between one of those two.
I like Utah for the conversation that we had with Mike Felder earlier about the Pac-12. Lucas alleges it's the most complete conference top to bottom thus far in college football, and I think the evidence would point to him being correct.
I like you go into Tuscaloosa and win. That shows me something. But look, I watched that Florida State game. They look like the stuff.
They're a top 5 scoring offense already. They're averaging 55 points a game. They look phenomenal.
Yeah, problem is there's not a whole lot of resume builders left on the Florida State schedule with how Clemson's played, but obviously that won't matter if they run the table because they already got the one in week 1. Those are the polls.
Excellent. That's the show. Cory Curtis, WKRN News 2. You can check them out for Titans coverage at Cory Curtis 2 is where you follow the man on Twitter, running on treadmills or marathons near you. We appreciate your time, as always, bud.
I appreciate you having me, and I appreciate the tacos.
Sure. We always appreciate Central Barbecue. Check them out today. That's going to do it for us. You can check out some Blaine and Mickey, tacos or not, coming up next.